Initially coming to this area, I felt like it was a great community to potentially put the school, but I noticed that there were already a large number of schools here. And so there was a time when I felt that it was too saturated and that I would search for other areas, but over and over I kept coming back to this place. And when there finally became an opportunity to really think about this as a permanent home, I started looking for areas that might serve as a school campus. And I contacted realtors. I had the realtors take us around and go to view these properties that were within my very limited budget. And every single one of these properties seemed to be, in their eyes, what a school was supposed to be. They were often commercial looking buildings, or if they were homes, the rooms were really small. Sometimes there'd be a large garden area, but then the rooms would be really small. Or sometimes there'd be a large rooms, the garden area would be really small. And I just knew those didn't fit. It came down to the end of one of the days of viewing home after home, property after property with a real estate agent. And there was one property in particular that I thought, man, this is all right. This could work as maybe a preschool. Maybe this can serve for 1 year and then we can move to another place. I liked it so much that when the real estate agent left, I said thank you, and then I decided I wanted to walk around the neighborhood and see if, how it felt to be in this neighborhood. And about 200 yards, 200 meters down the road, I came across what is now the original campus for ISLA, and I was floored. It exhibited all the characteristics that I think now have become so critical and essential to us having a space that feels like this. One, it's in a gorgeous neighborhood. Two, it's located around tons of trees under heavily shaded campus, a large forest nearby, and within steps of a beach. Three, it's at the end and the back of a community, meaning that traffic is not a big issue here. To come here means that you're kind of going to a destination. And when I looked onto the campus, not only was it large, but there was this giant tree, that really anchored the property. The rooms inside were full. There was a swimming pool. There was a space for playing sports and a playground, and it just felt like magic. And I looked on a for rent sign on the fence, called the number, and it was the same real estate agent that had just shown us the other properties. I said, why didn't you show me this one? And she said, well, it was out of your price range. And it was. It was probably 25% out of my proposed price range. And it was at that moment that I took one of the biggest risks of my life, a very smart, calculated risk to say, is this the type of space that's going to attract enough students to survive versus other places? And so I took on the lease and began redeveloping this house, which I might call a mansion, that was about 90% complete. The rooms didn't have closets, and there were no mirrors in the bathroom. There was no railing around some of the higher areas. We had to come in and install that, but it also was this blank canvas that allowed us to come in and kind of take this more cement, almost home, traditional looking structure and implement some of our more natural building techniques, like making our rails out of local wood and building extensions on the roof out of Kana palm leaves and other things like that really made the campus had that natural organic feel that we were looking for anyways. The problem was that to take on a lease of that price meant that the pressure was on to have enough students. And I knew from day one that if we didn't have 30